So, peace, world peace. I thought we could start by just greeting each other, taking a moment by saying, peace be with you. Peace to a neighbor or someone around you. Peace be with you. Peace be with you. Peace to you. So that was a common greeting in Jesus' time. You know, often the disciples or Jesus or others would greet each other that way. Or Paul's favorite, he expanded on it, grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. Many of his letters begin with exactly that passage. But I've noticed that in our modern day parlance, that I see the word peace used a lot, you know, and on Facebook, people signing their emails, peace and blessings, or bumper stickers, peace be with you, let there be peace on earth, coexist, I don't know, what, shalom, what are some?
Peace out.
Peace out. Oh, I've never heard that.
Peace out.
Peace out. Oh, man, thank you. I learned something new. Okay. What are some other ways that we hear people using the word peace?
Peace be still.
Peace be still. Yeah.
Love, peace, harmony.
Love, peace, and harmony. Oh, that's a great one. I like that. Anybody? Yeah, that's a part of the forgiveness practice that Marsha's been teaching us. So, yeah, any others? Or, well, y'all kind of missed one there. Rip. Rest in peace. I see that on Facebook messages, you know, rest in peace, you know, blessings to someone. And it kind of reminds me actually of a story that I heard. I think this is a true story about a flower shop. And they had received an order for a big bouquet, a big spread of flowers to be sent to a new business on the occasion of their grand opening. But a mix-up occurred, and they received instead this big spray of flowers that said, rest in peace. So the owner or the company store, the person that ordered it called and complained, called the flower shop and said, hey, you made a mistake here. And the owner of the flower shop, well, I'm sorry about that, but even worse, somewhere across town, there's a funeral going on right now, and they have received a big display of flowers that say, congratulations on your new location. I know it's an old joke, but it's congratulations on your new location. So today, we're going to talk about world peace. And, you know, and as the Daily Word said, Susan, you did such a wonderful job that the world's problems can feel so overwhelming and there's so, you know, the need is so great. How can my little individual efforts make a difference in the world? And I just thought, oh, they do, That coming up in September is the International Day of Peace on September 21st. And for several years we had a program every year on that Thursday, and Ellen Anderson and Michelle and our welcoming team spearheaded that. And we also have Unity World Day of Peace coming up, September 13th and 14th, and so I thought, well, this is a really good time to give some extra attention to the subject of peace. And you know, as I was thinking about it, looking around the office, I found this jar that we had created for the International Day of Peace. Yeah, that's good. Leave that up for Chris. Change for Peace. I don't know whether Ellen Anderson had made this or whatever, but at one of our dinners, we invited people to put their loose change in there to collect money, and we did. So it's maybe halfway up, and we took the money and gave it to, I don't know, probably the Western New York Peace Center or a local organization for peace. But then, you know, as I thought about it this week, I thought, oh, there is something even more important. You know, that all the money that we could collect, if we could fill that jar 10 times over, overflowing, there's something even more important that needs to happen for peace. Fundamental changes that need to occur. And so that's what my lesson is about today, changing our understanding about peace, changing our actions, changing our response to things. You know, the theme this year for International Day of Peace is Actions for Peace. So, you know, as the Daily Word said, every action I take can contribute to world peace. And then we just need to know that peace in our life, you know, creating peace in our own life and world, is a contribution to peace in the world. So here's some things just to consider. Put this in your pipe and smoke about peace. You know, think about that peace is not the absence of conflict. It's not saying, oh, there's never going to be any conflict. That peace doesn't mean that we're all going to completely agree, or we're all going to be the same, or we're all going to think alike or see things the same. That peace, inner peace especially, doesn't have to be dependent on outer circumstances. That we can be at peace whatever's going on around us. And maybe most importantly, that peace is not like a destination or a place that we're going to get to, or an achievement, or oh, this is it. Okay, now there's world peace. The rest of time, everything's going to stand still and be at peace. But that peace, as Gandhi said, there is no way to peace. Peace is the way. That peace is a way of living, a way of being, even in the midst of, you know, Jesus talked about being in the world, but not of the world. That we can drive ourselves nuts trying to change, you know, get everybody to change or be, or line up things the way we want them to be. And that's a surefire formula for not feeling very peaceful, thinking you're going to get everything else to be calm. So I like to think of peace as not a place that we have to get to, but it's a place we have to come from. It's a way of living, being. You know, conflict, you know, if you've ever known people who are conflict mediators or peace mediators, they'll never say, no, our goal is not to eliminate conflict. Conflict is good to have different perspectives. It reveals more options, more possibilities. But rather it's about how to move to a place where we can express our differences in ways that are civil and positive and productive. Heard somebody talking this week about psychological safety, you know, making it safe for someone to speak up in a group and express a different opinion, and to say, I don't quite see it that way, you know, I think we ought to think about something different. You know, and I think about Jesus, that he, you know, it's about being present to our discomfort when conflict comes up, and Jesus was able to stay centered. You know, he said, the peace I leave with you is not the peace of the world. You know, it's not that everything's gonna come to a peaceful resolution, but it's peace that's within you. And he said just before that the advocate, the Holy Spirit, will come to teach you, to show you that there's always something more that needs to be revealed in our process of being present to what might feel like it's not very peaceful. And I remember years ago I read a book by Deepak Chopra on peace, and he presented a solution for world peace. You know, he said there are basically 3 things that we've tried, 3 ways of trying to bring an end to war. You know, if you think about all the history of humanity, there's always been conflict and war. And the first approach is political activism, you know, trying to put pressure on governments to stop protesting, you know, protests and lobbying and political demonstrations. And So that hasn't created lasting peace, and not that we shouldn't continue to do those things. And then the second approach, he said, is humanitarianism, is reaching out to help those that are victims of war, expressing loving kindness and compassion. And we certainly should do those things. But it hasn't brought lasting peace. And he said the third approach is personal transformation. It's an approach of ending war one person at a time. That the idea that war begins in our human heart, and it can end there too. And that's the approach that hasn't really been tried by enough of us yet. But if enough of us do it, we reach a critical mass where it will shift things. So, and that's really our approach in unity, is personal transformation. And I remember years ago, one of our core values was peace. And we talked about how that has always been kind of a core foundational principle of our ministry. We have a peace pole on the front lawn, which Reverend Laura dedicated for us when we put in a new one years ago. And we have the Peace Park, and we teach classes in understanding peace, the Quantum Living class, and the Course in Miracles, and a lot of things. But Deepak Chopra wrote that the best thing you can do for peace today is to encourage the evolutionary impulse within yourself. That the peace movement will only succeed as long as people can grasp small achievements every day. To know that the little things we do to be the change we want to see in the world will happen. You know, and our daily word reminds us that there are people all over the world that are thinking the same way we are, and are doing things to bring more light and love into their communities and their world. And I'm reminded of that with just in the last week or two, the Parliament of World Religions was held in Chicago, and it's only held every few years. There were more than 7,000 people that gathered. Several years ago, it was up in Toronto, and I attended that with Marianne Kennedy Silks, but it was in Chicago this year. More than 7,000 people from all over the world, in every faith tradition and religion and approach that you can imagine. But the largest group that was represented, from what I understand, was New Thought religion. Unity. We were, in fact, the woman that's the president of Unity World Headquarters right now is also on the board for the Parliament of World. So Unity and New Thought in general had a really big presence at the Parliament of World Religion, which is really all about creating world peace. You know, and then I think about the story that I've heard, or not a story, it's a true story of how the peace song was written. You know, the song that we sing at the end of our service. Every Unity church, probably everywhere sings it. But it was written by a woman named Jill Jackson Miller. And her life story was really one that was filled with a lot of difficulty and pain and struggle. She was the youngest of 3 children. Her mother died when she was 3. Her father remarried, but the stepmother really was kind of cruel to her. And she grew up with a childhood of extreme neglect. And then after high school, she went out to California and got in, became a somewhat successful actress and got into the entertainment business, but she wound up marrying someone who was abusive and alcoholic and painful. She just had one series of painful experiences after another. But somehow through all of this in her life, God was at work, and she began to have a spiritual awakening, and she heard about religious science, which is sort of a sister tradition to Unity. And she actually became a friend of Ernest Holmes, who was the co-founder of Science of Mind. And she wrote, and so through her whole process, she wrote over 85 songs. But one day, she sat down with someone that she was writing music with, and she said these words just sort of poured out of her and together they wrote the song, "Let There Be Peace on Earth." It was in 1955, and she said, she had no idea that it could become a song, but she said, oh, it's kind of an odd song even. I wonder if anybody will ever want to sing this or listen to it. And one series of things after another, she connected with a youth leader who was looking for a song to use at a interfaith, interracial summer camp. And he said, oh, could I try that song out with our kids? And that summer, 180 kids stood in a circle and sang that song. And from there, it went on to be picked up by other camps and other young people and schools and clubs and churches. And now that song has been sung all over the world by lots of people and at the United Nations and in front of U.S. presidents. But her name is Jill Jackson Miller. And she passed away in 1995. She lived in Hawaii. But just the story of that song, to me tells me something about peace. That peace can be born out of even the most difficult circumstances, in the most unlikely places, to unlikely people or places where we're struggling. Somehow, the idea for peace can begin to germinate. And then once peace is born, it's like a little glimmer. Once we get a little peace in our heart or in a community or in a neighborhood and a city, it can take on a life of its own. It starts to spread, just like that song did. It begins to put down roots, and one person tells another and another. And as our daily word said, peace begins with each person, but inspires others about what's possible and begins to unite people. I heard a story, I was reminded of a story this week. It's a story we've probably heard many times about 3 bricklayers that were laying bricks. And somebody came along and said to each of them, what are you doing here? And the first guy said, oh, it pays the bills, this is my job. I'm just feeding my family by putting one brick after another on the wall. The second person, what are you doing? He said, oh, I'm building a wall here. And then they asked the third guy, what are you doing? And he said, oh, I am building a cathedral. This wall is going to be part of a beautiful building that's going to be a place where people come to worship for hundreds of years. People I've never even met, I'll never know, are going to come into this building and feel how sacred this place is. That every brick I add to this wall is building a sacred space that's going to bless the world. And I thought, wow, that's really somebody who gets the importance of how every action I take can contribute to world peace. And I was telling Mary Beth, what if we thought about Unity Peace Park that way? Every time we put a new brick in the labyrinth, every time we do something to upgrade or improve the space, that we are creating, we're not just mowing the lawn or pulling a few weeds up or something, that we are creating a space there that's going to be there for generations to come, that there's going to be people 50 years, 100 years from now that stand on that ground, or 20 years from now, somebody we will never even know who may be having a really hard time in their life, but they heard about the Unity Peace Park and they came and sat on one of those benches Steve made and found a moment of peace that changed their life. What if we thought about it that way for our whole ministry? So, change for peace means we need to change our understanding about peace, that it's not so much that we get there, but it's what we come from, the place where we come from. It's about changing our understanding of peace. It's about changing how our actions, our reactions, our responses to things. It's about changing you know, it's using our Unity 5 principles. And this is, you know, we used to, when we printed a little bulletin, we always had the principles on the front. But over the next couple of months, I want to start to invite a few people to share how you're using our Unity principles. So if you've got a little story or something you'd like to share, please see me after the service or contact me anytime during the week, and we'll schedule a time for you to share it. But changing how we respond to stuff that happens, you know. I heard this, the same speaker share this week about, he said, you know, how do you handle confrontations? You ever been in a meeting where somebody just gets really angry and gets really intense, and the temperature goes up in the room? And, you know, and this is a guy that he's not in church stuff at all. He works with CEOs of companies and businesses and all kinds of people. But he was saying what they teach. The first thing when that happens in those moments is self-regulation. You have to think about rather than react, rather than go into fight or flight, freeze or appease, you know. For me, I go to freeze mode or I want to run out of the room. But rather self-regulation, which requires a lot of self-awareness, a lot of deep inner work to be calm, to be like Jesus in that moment, to be, you know, he says first, you know, you got to have something like take a deep breath, step back, have a go-to affirmation, such as Myrtle Fillmore's words, nothing can disturb the calm peace of my soul. You don't have to say it out loud, just be able to bring it to mind. Or the Course in Miracles, I could see peace rather than this. Some kind of go-to phrase that just pops up when you need it. And you remember, oh, yeah, okay. I can step back and then I can be present again. And so first is some way of self-regulating a little bit. And then the second is to look for the A's. Look for a way to use one of the A's. Acknowledgement or appreciation or affirmation. But is there some way you can just kind of acknowledge, hey, I think it probably took a lot of courage to bring that up, or thank you for expressing a different opinion, or I appreciate this about you, or, you know, there's going to be some way to acknowledge or affirm or appreciate that can begin to shift the conversation to be civil and productive and helpful. So looking at how we respond, you know, can be a contribution to peace rather than stirring things up more, bringing calmness, bringing peace to a difficult conversation. Well, and here's one more. I thought about change for peace. Sometimes we have to be aware of what we are broadcasting out to the universe. We're always sending out something, vibration-wise, or in our words, our thoughts, or our actions. Sometimes we have to change what we're broadcasting if we want a different result. So I want to let you know a little secret that shouldn't be a secret anymore. The Unity World Headquarters has changed the name of our prayer ministry. You know, it's been for 120 years, Silent Unity. And to all of us in Unity, it will always be Silent Unity, I think. But what they found in studies is that if you've been in Unity a long time, you know Silent Unity. That's where I call to ask for prayer. But if you're not in Unity, if you're new to Unity, you didn't know what Silent Unity was. What Silent Unity? Is that like some room where you go and you just be silent? Or what is it, you know? And so they decided to start using the name Unity Prayer Ministry because it communicates more clearly what it is. If you're looking for a place to find somebody to pray with you and you're not in Unity, you know, and if you Googled in prayer, now or if you go to our unity.org website, you'll see that it's Unity Prayer Ministry. So we're broadcasting out, our headquarters broadcast what it is. You don't have to be silent to pray with us, you know, and there will always be silent unity for all of us, you know, but the public name now is Unity Prayer Ministry, so that we're people who don't know who we are will know what it is, what they're getting. So all these things are change for peace. Changes within ourselves, changing in our understanding, changing in how we approach things, how we respond to things, and what we put out that creates a more peaceful world. So, one more thing that I thought we need to remember to change. And it's almost, I can't believe I'm going to say this in church. Change how you give people the finger. Is that a challenging word? Now, what I'm referring to here is two fingers. Traditionally, the sign for peace has been the V, you know, victory, you know, which really, victory implies conquering others. It implies that there are winners and there are losers. You know, we won the war, you know, and I heard a few years back that someone or an organization was suggesting instead we could go from 2 fingers to 3 fingers that would represent a W. Wish only well. Wow. So when somebody cuts you off in traffic, or you tend to be, you know, something happens and you're irritated or annoyed or you're bothered by somebody, you know, instead of giving, not that anyone in this room would ever do that, I'm sure you, but to instead think, wish only well. What can I do to wish only well for that person? So I don't want that he is practicing already. Okay.
Read between the lines.
Oh, okay, well, I'm thinking it this way. So, and as I thought about the 3 letters, it could stand for love, peace, and harmony, which is what Marcia has been teaching us to practice for some of us that have been in the forgiveness class. Something, love, peace, and harmony. That if something happens, or you're mad at somebody, or you hear something on TV that you don't like that somebody did, wish only well. Love, peace, and harmony. So that's a new way to give people. Okay. See, this is what we call practical Christianity. Or practicing. So change for peace is changing our understanding of peace, knowing that it's a way of living, a way of being. You know, I'm not feeling discouraged when it feels like, oh, they haven't stopped the war in Ukraine yet, or things haven't changed. But knowing that every action we take does make a difference, that living more peacefully is creating peace in the world. And then allowing our thoughts and our words and our actions to be guided by love. That wish only well. So, on that note, I want to turn to Kevin now to lead us in our meditation song, I Am Love, by Sue Riley. And if you'd like to sing along, that's good. Otherwise, just enjoy Kevin's beautiful voice.
I am love.
And so let us take a moment now to feel those words. As we take a deep breath, gently close our eyes if you'd like. To know that each of us, for that is true for us, I am love. I am peace. I am whole. Love, peace, and harmony reside within us and all around us. In fact, I just invite you to breathe in 3 times to affirm love, peace, and harmony. Love, peace, and harmony. Love, peace, and harmony. Allow these words to be your words as I speak them. I open my heart to healing in this moment. The power of God is my source of wholeness and well-being. I turn within to that inexhaustible and ever-flowing source of divine life, divine love, and divine peace. Compassionately, I acknowledge my human experience. Struggles, challenges may come and go, but no human condition can hinder the flow of divine life. I heal as I shift my awareness to my spiritual nature and find that God and I, divine life and I, are one. Healing is happening in every moment of my spiritual awareness. And knowing that wholeness and well-being are innate, I celebrate. I'm grateful for my capacity to thrive in every circumstance. With a grateful heart, I heal. I heal myself, and I heal the world around me. And so I affirm that we have crossed the bridge of faith together. And into this time, I've invited Christy to put up on the screen a picture of the Silent Unity Prayer Chapel, the light that shines for you, and the bridge of faith, two very sacred places that are part of Unity Village. Now I'd like to invite Mary Beth to come forward and bless the prayers and the prayer vows. And if we stand together on the prayer, on the bridge of faith, why don't put those pictures up again? I like having the energy of Unity Village here with us.
I invite you to quietly in your mind share the names of those you would like held in prayers this morning. As we tune in, tap into our spiritual awareness, knowing that healing happens in every moment of spiritual awareness, we bring our awareness to all the prayer requests, those in our heart, those in this prayer box, the prayers on all hearts. Divine wholeness. We know that every prayer is a request for change. And so as we bless these prayers, we come from the place of healing. We come from the place of wholeness. We come from the place of peace. We come from the place of trust and know that all these prayers are being answered in perfect and divine timing. And so it is. Amen.